The following program is presented by the HTM Podcast Network.
Good evening, everybody. This is Robyn Nelson with another edition of Wrestle Popcast. And my guest tonight is the American Nightmare, Mike Sark. How's it going, Mike?
Great, but don't forget all in front of that.
Okay, the All American Nightmare. How's that?
Much better, much better.
That's pretty good. So, so what you been up to lately?
Today, let's see, gym, dealing with rain, hail, and at this moment, I'm sitting down here eating a Reese Cup Blizzard and drinking a beer.
Ooh, a Reese Cup Blizzard from Dairy Queen and a beer. What a combination.
Yep, perfect combination.
I'm going to have to try that myself sometime.
Hey, it's the perfect combination.
All right. Before you became a pro wrestler, you were a MMA fighter and a boxer as well.
Yeah, I've dabbled a little bit in everything when it comes to punching somebody in the face.
I know, just like when you punched, I believe it was the FTC owner in the face and knocked him out.
That was Scotty Boom. He's one of the guardians or whatever you want to call it. He's not actually the owner, but he's like a commissioner.
Okay, I thought he was the owner, but I didn't know he was commissioner. But when I saw that video where you popped him in the face and knocked him out, that was crazy.
Yeah, it made a little bit of contact. I'm known for that.
How did he get under your skin where you punched him out and knocked him out?
Oh, gosh, man, let me think. Let's see, I don't even remember. He was, I think, just talking some smack about what he wanted me to do or something, and I don't take orders very well, so he was talking some smack, and I called him out, and I just gave him a good old-fashioned beatdown.
All right. Let's talk about your ex-partner, tag partner, and David Barnabas Specter from Darkness Worldwide. Can you tell us what happened? Why he left and turned his back on you, went over with David Barnabas Specter?
Oh, man. Let's see here. My partner was Bad News Bobby Brown. I brought him into Team Inc. We was best friends, trained together. I'm actually the one that gave him his nickname, Bobby Brown. I was preparing for a MMA match, and at the time I had I blew my shoulder out, so I was just kind of being his coach, helping him. And I was getting him ready for a fight, and the UFC legend Spencer the King Fisher was bringing in a heavyweight for him to fight. And he was sitting on my couch at the house, and without even, it was just priceless, he said, yeah, Spencer Fisher wants some, I'll kick his ass too. And I said, easy here, Bad News. And it just stuck. I gave him that name, and he's like a brother to me forever, and we formed the tag team, Team Inc. And to be honest with you, man, he just, I guess he got the jealous bone. I was getting too much of the spotlight, and he decided to stab me in the back and, I guess, take a ride on the dark side.
Wow, that's crazy. You got to beware of David Barnabas Specter. He's kind of sneaky and evil at the same time.
That's what I've been heard, but the only thing I've seen out of him has been chicken shit. Can I say chicken shit?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to make sure. He actually tried to cost me the match there about a month ago, give or take 4 or 5 weeks ago. He dressed up, when I say chicken shit, he dressed up in a chicken outfit. And come over to the ringside, and we thought he was Bobby Brown, because Bobby was a no-show, and been saying he's going to show up to the show, and sure enough, it wasn't. And tried to distract us, but come to find out it was David.
Wow, so they must have been planning that for quite some time. And you guys are also the tag champions as well. So right now, you're holding both of the tag titles.
Well, long story short is we brought in a third member. My buddy, we call him the American Psycho. We brought him in, and so he's 3 strong, little group going on. And like I said, we beat the boys from Ring of Honor for the titles. And I hit him with my finisher, and we got the 1, 2, 3, and we were celebrating in the ring. And next thing I know, Bad News lays the Psycho out with the belt, then he turns and hits me. And since then, he's been on the run, hiding, and talks a lot of smack on Facebook, and he never shows up when it comes to bell time.
Wow. So,
just like David, he'll get his. I'll actually be in David's backyard here in a couple of weeks. FTC is doing a show update, and I guess I'm gonna go ahead and do the show. So I'll keep my eye on the lookout for him while I'm up there.
oh, wow. So you're going to definitely do the show at the FTC show in Dayton. I definitely got to go now.
Yeah, one of the owners is doing everything in his power to get me on the show, and I was supposed to have a number one contender match against the former champion, Dapper Dan. We had unfinished business anyway, because I took him on for the heavyweight title last year at the rally, a bike rally, and had him beat. And long story short, my partner, Bad News, got in the ring and then that supposedly mistakenly hit me with the belts. So as the gears turn, we kind of see that it wasn't a mistake now. He was just always jealous. Didn't want me to have that heavyweight crown. So they promised me a number one contender match against him, and then, I don't know, injury or whatever it might be, he couldn't make the show. So they've come up with other situations, and it just happens to be my birthday weekend, so I was planning on going to Nashville and just drinking some beer and raising some hell, so I told them I didn't have to be on the show, but they've been assuring me that they'll have me a big match to just show up. So I said, well, I was actually on the phone with one of the promoters about an hour ago, and I asked them who it was, and they said it was going to be big. And I said, well, just tell me to show up and lace these boots up, because it'll be a long, hard night.
Oh, I know. You're going to be drinking a lot of beer and kicking a lot of ass in the ring. That's how you play.
Yeah, that's how I like to do it.
Cool. I'm definitely going to come to the show. I gotta see what happens, and who knows? Maybe Bad News and David Barnabas Specter from Darkness Worldwide. Who knows? Maybe they'll sneak in like little snakes.
If they know what's best, they'll get out of town and go get them a couple margaritas.
I love it. So when you were growing up, were you a pro wrestling fan since day one?
Absolutely.
So you were like a big Hulk Hogan fan, is that correct?
Yep, I grew up, the red and yellow brother, man. I was hooked.
Oh, I bet you were. So so did Hulk Hogan, did he get you influenced to get in the wrestling business?
Well, not really, to be honest with you. I mean, I loved it as a kid, and it's something that I never ever dreamed I'd ever do. And as I become an adult, I started getting into lifting weights, and then, like I said, got into the boxing and the MMA, and I would go to some indie shows here and there, and the promoters usually would come up to me and ask me if I was ever interested in it, because, I mean, I'm just, I don't want to be cocky, but I got that look, you know what I mean? I'm a bigger, tatted up guy, and I'd always say, no, it's not for me, not for me. Love watching it, but it's not for me. So I can't really say that Hogan got me into wrestling, but he's definitely who got me hooked to loving wrestling.
That's pretty good as well. And speaking of MMA fighting, you got to be friends with the King as well. How did that come to be?
Well, he moved to a town close to me. He come to deer hunt, actually, for a hunting camp. And somebody said, hey, Mike, you interested in still doing some fighting? And I said, I don't know, man, So I went to the gym and trained a little bit, and me and him become really close buddies. He actually nicknamed me Lips, and not because my lips are big and beautiful, just because, as you can tell, I like to talk. And he actually told me back then, this was back in like 2000, I'm going to say 12 maybe, and he said, man, you should be a professional wrestler, and I just laughed it off. He's like, you got the look, you can talk, you should do it. And I was just thought it was funny back then. We would go like to Hooters and everything like that, because Spencer is actually not a real big guy. If you get a chance to YouTube him or look him up or whatever, he's a bad man, but he's not a big dude or nothing. So when we'd go out to the bars and stuff, everybody would think I was the big famous UFC fighter. So it was pretty funny. Good times back then.
That's pretty good. So What was one of your most memorable fights you had when you were MMA fighting that still sticks with you today? I know you probably had tons of great fights. What was that one fight that really stuck to you when you were MMA fighting?
To be honest with you, I didn't have that many because, long story short, I had a lot of what we would call gym wars, where they would bring in other fighters from other camps, and you would pretty well fight, but it was almost like hardcore. It would be like a pregame season in the NFL. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't count, but yet you're still going out there knocking the shit out of each other. So that's what I had a lot of, because starting out in the MMA world, where I was once again, I'm not trying to be cocky, but I'm a bigger, intimidating guy. Believe it or not, I had a lot of times that guys would back out of the fights. The week of the fight, the day of the fight, weigh-in, happened to me numerous times.
Wow, that had been crazy.
I actually cut weight to fight at light heavyweight because my cardio was too bad at heavyweight. I had to cut a bunch of weight to get my weight down and get my cardio up. So I was a big, intimidating guy walking around as a heavyweight, but I did it like at the highest level as far as training, so I would cut weight. Basically like when you'd see, if you ever watched a high-level UFC fight back in the day, and you would see a guy, it's not as bad now with all the testing and blood work and everything they do, but if you watched it 5, 6, 8 years ago, for example, you'd see a light heavyweight fighter, and they'd weigh him in, you'd see him weigh at 205, and you'd look at that guy on TV, and you go, how in the hell does that guy weigh 205? So it's all about cutting weight. He weighed 205 in the weigh-in, but he weighed 235 in the night of the fight. And that's what I did. So it was hard to get in, and let's be honest, muscles and size doesn't make a fighter. But it's an intimidating look that actually ends up backing a lot of fighters out.
Wow, I believe that. Didn't that just get on your nerves, though, when some fighters would just back out?
That's actually why I got out of the MMA game. Yep. So I fought a heavyweight. Long story short, me and him actually are buddies now.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
He weighed in. I was trying to fight at light heavyweight and had 2 fights in a row get canceled. So a mutual friend messaged me and said, hey, man, you want to take a fight next week? And I said, sure. What weight class? And he said, heavyweight. I said, damn, heavyweight. And he said, yeah. And he said, I couldn't even make it. I was actually under the heavyweight limit at the time. Like, you had to weigh in, you had to weigh in 207, I do believe, to fight at heavyweight. And, but let's be honest, everybody that fought heavyweight usually fought at 240 or plus. And I was weighing in at like 210 at the time, because I was trying to cut down to a middleweight fight at 185 that I never actually made because I couldn't get the weight down. So anyways, they asked me how much I weighed, and he weighed about 266, and I said, big enough to whoop his ass.
That's awesome. So, since you left MMA, you did some boxing as well. Did you do MMA first before boxing, or did you do both at the same time training?
I did boxing before I did MMA. Then I went back to boxing. Let's see here. I got in a bar fight one night. Go figure, right?
What happened?
And, alcohol. Believe it or not, though, I don't go looking for fights. The easiest going guy, but don't back down from them. But anyhow, I got in a bar fight, got in a pretty good one, and there was a boxing rough and rowdy coming up in like 2 weeks. And he's like, man, you laid that guy out, you should go fight in it. And I've never had any boxing experience in my life. So I let my buddies sign me up for it. And I literally had enough cardio that if I walked around the block, I needed to stop and get me a 6-pack of beer to refresh, get my wind back. So it was a tournament, and the first 3 guys that I fought didn't make it past the 30-second mark.
Wow.
And, yeah. Like I said, I'm not making this shit up. If I tell you it's the truth, because my life's too crazy to make it up, to be honest with you. Knocked all 3 guys out in about 30 seconds total each fight. Made it to the finals, fought a guy that played college football that actually knew how to box a little bit, a lot smaller than me. Thought I was going to walk through him, and he gave me a hell of a fight. And I realized after the first round, I didn't have no cardio to fight. But I went out there and fought. Most people still said that I won the fight, but it was kind of like David versus Goliath. I'm 6'3", I was about 265, jacked up back then. He was about 5'11", 215. Very close fight. They gave the decision to him. He won the tournament.
So, how many? Since you were in the tournament as well, did you do any other boxing matches after the tournament?
Oh yeah, I've done several. I think let's see here. I think I'm 12-1 with 12 knockouts, 11 knockouts.
Wow! And who was the best boxer in the ring you had great chemistry with, and you guys both put on a good fight against each other?
Let me think here. I don't think anybody. I usually just knock everybody out.
Boy, you're cocky.
I just speak the truth, brother.
Hey, so since you stopped doing MMA and boxing, what finally got you into start training as a pro wrestler?
Well, let me stop you on that real quick. Since you're still talking about the boxing, I have a buddy down here. His name is Luke, the Bronco Lions.
Okay.
He's a heavyweight professional boxer. I'm not sure his record right now, but he's a 2-time tournament heavyweight champion. I think he's 8-3 now as a professional boxer, and he was the big name for this area. And he'll flat out tell you, he's like, I was his training partner, and he's like, they couldn't pay me $10,000 to fight you. I was like, why? He's like, because I don't want my head knocked off. He's the big name around here, though. But I just kind of had some pretty good wars with him in the gym, and he knew what was up.
Oh wow! I bet that would have been a good fight if you guys really got into it.
He might have made it around with me. He's a good dude. He's a good dude. He really is.
Oh, that's cool. So when you became and started training as a pro wrestler, since you were training in MMA and boxing, did that also help you condition your body more when you trained as a professional wrestler? And is training as a pro wrestler, is it harder on the body than training as an MMA fighter and a boxer?
I would actually say yes. It's definitely harder on the body. The training's not harder. I'm not going to say that the conditioning or training's harder, but the abuse you put on your body is definitely harder. I believe so.
So, how long did you train before you had your first match?
Oh man, let's see here. FTC, the owners, they put on their very first show, and I hollered at my buddy Bobby Brown, and I said, hey, let's go check this show out tonight. And he was one of them that tried to get me to do pro wrestling for years, and I always told him, ain't happening. I said, let's go check the show out, and he almost backed out on me. He wasn't going to go. I said, dude, what else to do tonight? Let's go down and check the show out. We went down. It was a really great, it was the best indie show I've ever been to be honest with you. Like, they put money into it. They do it at this Rone Theater, and it just got this great atmosphere. It's got this great, like, you feel like you're in a big time city. Like, they got a bar, they sell beer, it's got the lights. It's really nice. So, anyways, checked the show out. Really enjoyed it. One of the owners, promoters, walked up to me. He's seen some of my videos on Facebook and said, hey, man, you got a good look here. I thought about doing this. You should come down and try it. So I took him up on it, went down, trained, and realized how hard it was on the body. But I liked the challenge, and I trained probably, to be honest with you, maybe 6 to 8 times, to be honest with you.
Wow.
They said, hey, we got a show coming up. And what happened was one of the owners, we kind of started a little war on social media, because how I said it was, I had everybody, I was like, listen, you're bringing pro wrestling to my backyard, and you didn't have the balls to ask me if it was okay, because I wanted to be the heel when they started this promotion out here. So
yeah.
We had everybody believing it was real heat. Like, even the guy that was over the theater, he's like, hey, man, if this Mike Sark won't come down and raise hell, I don't know if we want to going with this show or not. He had to assure him, hey, it's just a work, man, And so we showed up to the crowd, and we bought our tickets. We was not supposed to be at the show, because I had words with one of the talents, one of the owners and stuff.
Okay.
We showed up in the front row with our tickets, and we was drinking our beer and eating our popcorn, and we got kicked out, and we fought our way back into the main event. And like I said, they brought us in to be heels. We did our thing. You're going to really love this story. So we was in the back getting ready to make our way to the ring, and the guy it was a ladder match for a 1-year contract in that company.
Okay.
Well, it was like 5 or 6 guys in the match. I really don't remember. And one of the guys, like, when we walked back in the locker room, I didn't know how it was done back then. You know what I'm saying? I was new.
Yeah.
I'd never been in on a show yet in the back. And so, I didn't go up and introduce myself, but no one was coming up to me and was like, hey, man, who are you? Nothing like that. It was almost like they was, like, I don't even know what word I'm looking for. It was like they was heat beef or something in there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, the guy that was going to go, it was a ladder match, and there's tables and everything involved. He told me, he said, hey, I'm going to climb up here, going to go through 2 tables, you come running out, and, we'll go from there. Told me how it was going in. I said, look, dude, we're not in the ring and we're not ringside, so we're coming from, like, this theater is, like, we're coming from, like, a good, probably 75 yards away. And I said, look, we got to fight our way back in, and we need to know when to come in, blah, blah, blah. He said, look, I'm not looking like an idiot. If you ain't out there in time, I'm just going to get the briefcase. So, sure enough, he didn't do what he said he was going to do. He climbed up the ladder and took the briefcase and won the match. Well, one of the other promoters said, this is what you call a shoot. And I said, what does that mean? He said, that means you can really go in there and kick the shit out of him. So when he said that, we took off running like a couple mules to the ring, and when we got in there, we gave him a couple boots to the side of the shoulder, and sure enough, he got back in line. And we threw him to a table, and we signed our name on the contract, and it was about 400 people at the show. The promoter handed me the microphone, and he said, here you go, superstar. And I never like to rehearse stuff. I like to just come from, just come off the top of my head. And I remember how the guys in the back of the locker room, I'm not putting no names down, because it's, but they just, like I said, they just didn't welcome me with open arms, I guess I should say.
Okay.
So I grabbed that microphone, and it just popped in my mind when I said, look, if you don't know who we are, I said, we're damn sure not here to be the new kids on the block. I said, we're here to run the block. And when I said that, dude, the crowd popped. And it just something come from my heart, come from my, off the top of my head, and I come up to that in a little catchy phrase, and the crowd actually really enjoyed it. So that was my first match, and it was just a run-in, and that's just kind of how it kicked off.
That's pretty good. You also got in a match with a beast by the name of Abyss. What was that like to mess with a big guy like that in the ring?
He's he's a big man, a very powerful man. We was in hold on a minute, I think I was in a 6-man tag against him.
Mm-hmm.
I think they outnumbers. I think it was me. Hold on. I think it was 3 versus 4, if I remember right. But
okay.
Yeah, it was Abyss. I got to work with him. Like I said, I respect every man that gets that ring, but I fear no man. I punch him in the damn mouth just like I do anybody else.
What did he do after you punched him in the mouth?
He bled.
What did he do after that? Did he come after you?
I think he was seeing the stars, to be honest with you. I think he tagged out.
I'd never seen like that happen to Abyss like that. Wow.
Let's just say I got hammers for hand.
You also worked with a lot of great wrestlers in the ring. Who was your greatest chemistry you had in the ring with that you got both of you guys always would put on one hell of a show?
Man. That's a good question. I'll tell you who I liked hanging out with the most.
Okay.
I like the Spirit Squad guys.
Yeah, tell me the story about the Spirit Squad guys, and then you had a beer with one of them.
Kenny Kenny afterwards, we had a match. I come in and smacked him in the face just like everybody else. And afterwards, he respected me and we went out and drank some beer together. And as I was coming out of the little sports bar, I noticed there's a car waiting up front for me, and he hollered and he said, "Hey, Mike." I said, "Who's that?" And I was with a buddy. He said, Get in. He had a little chauffeur driver for us, and we got in, and he wanted to go hit some bars, and we started driving up through town. And I didn't ask him. I didn't say, "Hey, man, what do you think? You think I can make it in this business?" He literally just looked at me and said, "Mike, how far do you want to take this?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "How far do you want to take professional wrestling?" I said, "Man, I'm just doing it for a hobby." He said, "Dude, you could take this to the highest level." He said, "You can cut promos, you got the look, you got the walk, you got the talk." He said, "You should really pursue this." He actually got a little drunker and told me that I was put on this earth to be a professional wrestler.
I bet you love that. Also, you had a lot of female fans. You even had a female fan that dressed like you for Halloween.
Yeah, she won, I think, best costume that night at the show.
Wow, what did you think about that? A fan dressing up like you, I mean, really, followed you in of all of your matches and stuff, and was able to, dress up like you.
Man, to be honest with you, it's humbling. It's a pretty cool thing to see, but I'm not surprised.
I can also tell, I know you try to have, more of like a heel persona about you. It also seems like the younger fans like you as well, especially kids.
What's that word? A lot of the promoters call me anti-hero.
Yeah, anti-hero.
Yeah, that's what I get the little rap of. They're like, "You're an anti-hero." I'll tell you a funny story. I went to way down Hickville, West Virginia, and I did a show down there. My partner at the time, we teammate, Bad News, he said, "Hey, man," he said, "see them kids up front row there?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "I came down to this show last month." He said, "They hate me." All right, got you. So we walked out through there, and they was literally the whole front row was about 15 kids, probably from the ages 6 to 10, somewhere in that frame, I don't know. I was walking up by him, and I'm that one said, "Hey, man, check out his arms." I heard him say it. So I walked up to him, I flexed, and I said, "Hey, man, hey, little dude, you want to feel these?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "I don't think so, you little twerp." We got in the ring, we did our thing, and afterwards, the intermission, we went out there, and I'll be damned if that same little snot-nosed bastard come up to me and wanted to buy a T-shirt.
Wow, and he bought a T-shirt from you?
I said, his dad come up to me, and I said, "Dude," I said, "did everything for you to not like me. Why you want to buy a T-shirt?" He said, "You just look cool."
That's funny. I bet you that little kid was just looking up to you, liking it, going, "Hey, man, I got told off, and here I am liking him and buying a shirt."
Yeah, like I said, so, I mean, when I do shows out of town stuff, I prefer to try to be healed because that's just what I like. Because I'll tell you something about me.
Okay.
When they offered me to do my first show for FTC, and I did my little bit of training, I told one of the promoters, the owner, I said, "Look, dude," I said, "if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be me." And he said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "I'm not going out there and putting any shiny purple trunks on. Not that I got anything against that." Mm-hmm. I was like, "But if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be me." So I'll run into other workers or fans, from time to time in a bar or whatever it might be, and they'll go, "Man, you really stay in character. You really live that gimmick." And I say, "Hold up. There ain't no damn gimmick about me. What you see is what I am."
Wow. So you live the All American Nightmare 24/7 as well. And your name, the All American Nightmare, you had that way before Cody took it.
Yeah, I was actually sparring in a pro boxing gym, and I was sparring a little pro Mexican guy. I can't remember his name. It's been back, whenever the Hinder song was out. You have to look it up, see whenever it was released. Probably 2009, 10, somewhere in there. And I was sparring him, and they had the radio on, and it happened to be the Hinder song, and I actually dropped him, pretty well knocked him out. And a couple of pro boxers, they were like, "Hey, man, you're the real-life All-American Nightmare." I was like, "Huh?" Because that song was on. So they gave me the nickname in the boxing gym, and I actually went and got the tattoo on my forearm. So, yeah, I was the All-American Nightmare way before Cody Rhodes was the American Nightmare.
Wow. That's amazing. That's a great story as well. And speaking of, you have a lot of ink on you too. Are there like certain stories for each ink on your arm?
I like to feel most of my tattoos have a meaning. Yeah, I like I said, the All American Nightmare, got that from with the song being on Farm, which like I said, if you actually sit down and take time to listen to the song, it's like they wrote it about me. Red, white, and blue, All American Nightmare. You know what I mean? It's literally like they wrote the song for me.
All right, now let's go back and talk about Bad News and part of Team Inc. How'd you guys get together, and how did Team Inc. Become a team? How did that all come by before the betrayal?
Well, it was actually my other buddy was, we went and got in the boxing ring, and they was a local pro wrestler that teamed up with a big meathead, and they got on Facebook and started talking smack because they seen me doing, well, I guess what you'd call a promo in professional wrestling, which it was before I was professional wrestling, but they seen me doing that, so they got together Jim and started talking smack about me. And so I started talking smack back about them, and, they was like, I'm a professional wrestler, I've been doing this, blah, 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 smoking out your ass. So, I come back and said, look, you do it in the ring, whatever, I can do it on the street any day of the week, blah, blah, blah. So we went, his big buddy, I caught him out in the boxing ring, and my other buddy is like me, he's like a short version of me, he's all tatted up.
Mm-hmm.
And we got in, we had it videoed, and without rehearsal, without thinking of the name, I looked at him after we gave the big dude a beat down. I got the video if I go back and find it somewhere.
Okay.
I looked at him, and I looked at the camera, and I said, what you're looking at right here? I looked down at him, seen his sleeves, looked down and seen my sleeves, tatted out, and I said, what you're looking at right here is called Team Inc. And it just stuck, dude. It just stuck. I probably sold 500 Team Inc. shirts, probably.
Wow.
And,
that was...
It just stuck, and then I asked him, if he'd be interested in, doing it, and then he always said he would, but he always blew me off. So that's when I asked pretty well my best friend, Bad News, if he wanted to finally do it when we went to that show, and that's just kind of how it took off, Team Inc.
Oh, that's pretty good. So when you're not in a wrestling ring as well, you enjoy a lot of stuff. I know you enjoy drinking beer a lot and, closing, the bars down at nighttime. What's some of your favorite beers you enjoy drinking?
Man, to be honest with you, you'll probably laugh at me. I'm a Michelob Ultra guy. I like to keep my girlish figure,
I can't picture you drinking that, but okay.
Yeah, it's just low on carbs.
Nice. You also show me some pictures of your badass Jeep. So do you do a lot of off-roading as well?
Yeah, matter of fact, yesterday I took a little hottie out. We went full rolling, shot some guns, and played in the mud, if you know what I mean.
Ooh, I bet. Did you guys have a mud wrestling match?
Yes, we did. And, of course, she lost, so she had to get naked.
Oh, wow. Oh, my. That's awesome. So what else do you like to do besides, shooting guns and, wrestling girls in the mud, four-wheeling, and all that great stuff?
So if you're asking me what some of my favorite things to do is, let's see. I would like to say I'm a simple man, so I would say cold beer and hot women.
All right. Awesome. Love it, man. Love it. So, speaking of, since you love your character 24/7 as well, do you also have a Harley?
Not anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I got rid of it.
How come you got rid of your Harley?
Well, I'm actually going through a divorce, if we want to air it all out there, and she's got a big fancy Jeep, and when you got 4 vehicles, the bike had to go.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. When you at the time, were you wrestling as a pro wrestler when you still had your Harley, and did you ever ride your bike up into the arena?
Yes, I have several times.
Really?
There's videos out there of me riding it to the ring a few times. Actually, matter of fact, last year at the bike rally. You're the guy you're talking about, that low-life chicken shit David. He was there and witnessed me riding it out.
Really? What was David thinking at the time?
I do not know. I didn't have a conversation with him.
So when you see David Barnabas Specter of Darkness Worldwide, what are you going to do to him?
If I seen him face to face anytime soon, I would probably hold him down and shave off that ridiculous, dumb-looking goatee.
Nice. And after you're done with him, what are you going to do to Bad News?
What will I do to Bad News? Well, I would probably do the same thing to him that I did to the strippers I was with last night. Leave him laying face down and ass up.
Wow. All right. So where can everybody find you on social media?
You can go, I got a Team Inc. page. I have All American Nightmare fan page. And then you could just go to my personal page, is just Mike Sark. All
right. Thank you
I don't have all that Instagram or Twitter or whatever you want to call it.
Or Snapchat.
I have too many women keeping me busy the way it is now. I don't need all that.
Hey, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story.
I appreciate you having me, brother.
Anytime. And everybody else, thank you for listening to Wrestle Popcast. And you can follow my podcast at Hitting the Marks Podcast Network, Podcast City at podcastcity.net, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts. You can follow me at Twitter at WPopcast1 and at Facebook at Wrestle Popcast. Everybody have a great evening.
What's up, Popcast listeners? This is Jargo from the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast, as well as HTM Sports, right here on the HTM Podcast Network. Listen, if you love Robyn's show, then chances are you'll enjoy ours as well. We talk a lot of Ring of Honor, New Japan, MLW, AEW, NXT, WWE, you name it, we've got you covered. So hit that subscribe button. Be sure that you catch the Hitting the Marks Pro Wrestling Podcast, the weekly flagship, right here on the HTM Podcast Network.
Good evening, everybody. This is Robyn Nelson with another edition of Wrestle Popcast. And my guest tonight is Demi God of Death, Funny Bone.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for coming on the show tonight.
Hey, no problem at all.
Yes. All right. So, what influenced you to become a pro wrestler? Did you grow up and fall in love with wrestling before you decided to train as a pro wrestler with Nick Bockwinkel?
Yeah, I grew up watching wrestling. Honestly, it's the only thing I've ever wanted to do in my life.
Oh, okay, cool. So, what was it like to be trained by Nick Bockwinkel?
I was extraordinarily informative. The best quote I've ever heard explaining Nick Bockwinkel was by Bobby Heenan. And he says that if you ask Nick what time it is, he'll tell you how to build a watch.
Nice. So I bet Nick Bockwinkel probably drilled you in the ring a lot too.
Yes.
So how long did you train before you got your very first match? And when you had your first match, how were you feeling?
I trained for about 2.5 months before I got my first match, and it went as good as you could imagine, which means not very good. Honestly, I don't feel like I got good until a couple years into the business.
Okay. So how did you become the demigod of Death, Funny Bone?
I transitioned to the Demi God of Death, technically speaking, after WWE bought the name The Demon King from me.
Oh, no kidding. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I started going by the Demon King roughly 4 or 5 years ago. They gave that name to the Finn Balor guy. I contacted them about the fact that it was my name first, and then they paid me for it.
I hope Vince paid you good.
Good enough for me, bud.
That's pretty good. Hey, let's talk about your relationship and in-ring chemistry with Sin Boldy. You guys had a lot of, interesting matches.
A lot of an understatement. I feel married to him, which is very unfortunate for me because he's awful.
Why is he awful?
Have you hung around him for more than 10 minutes?
I've met him when he was over here in Cincinnati. He seemed fine to me.
Oh, yeah, he wasn't around you for long enough then to get more time.
I probably will, because I'm going to be seeing them in Vegas next year when I head up to the Cauliflower Alley Club, and I'm going to get some ink done by him.
I'm sorry. He's actually a good tattoo artist. He's just an awful person.
All right. So tell me a couple of your most memorable matches you've done with Sin.
I've done a handful. This Sunday is going to be probably the craziest, but I've done, let me see. It's a carnival death match. Probably one of our craziest matches. It included, he brought some clown to throw swords at me. There was worms. There was firecracker ties, an electric chair. I hit him with the TV. All kinds of insanity. This Sunday we're going to do a whole lot more violence.
That's gonna.
I'm gonna try to end Sin. I'm gonna be perfectly honest with you. I'm hoping this will be his last match. That way I don't have to deal with him anymore.
So he's being a big pain in your ass. Is that what you're trying to say?
Since 2011.
Hey, but you keep on going back, getting some more though.
Yeah, I like hitting him, and he makes a funny noise.
What type of funny noise does he make?
Something you would expect a Canadian clown to make.
Okay, we'll leave it as that as a Canadian clown since he's a Canadian as well. Since speaking of Canada as well, have you wrestled up in Canada as well?
Yeah, a number of times this year, last year, and the year before.
Okay, cool. A match I would love to see you get in with, and you've been posting this on Twitter like crazy. I like to see you and Effie go 1-1. You guys have that unique style about each other.
Yeah, Effie and myself will be on in the same city at the same show next week in Hood Slam. So we'll see how that goes.
Really? So there's no...
Just smash his fucking face in.
So does Effie know you want a piece of him?
Yes, I've told him every chance I can get.
What does he say about that?
Not a lot. Just shows me he's ready.
Hey, you know something? You can't underestimate Effie. He's not a bad wrestler. I mean, he can go at it if he had to.
No, see, that's what I mean. Guys that aren't ready are guys that talk a lot. Guys that are ready don't say shit. They just show up and do work.
All right. You've done some crazy stuff outside the ring as well. I mean, you dove from 20 feet up in the air onto one of your opponents, and then you moonsaulted off a basketball basket. That's amazing.
Yeah, devil may care is a phrase spoken a long time ago about my wrestling style, apparently.
Well, you're not afraid to fly. You fly everywhere. That's what it seems like.
Yeah, I don't have fear, so.
All right. Okay, and tell me about your time when you got in the ring with Tommy Dreamer. What was that like?
It was good. I actually like hitting my heroes a lot. It was very fun to beat the hell out of Tommy Dreamer.
Wow. So what did he say to you after you beat the living pulp out of him?
Well, what he said wasn't actually directed towards me. It was actually directed towards Cody Rhodes. Apparently he told Cody Rhodes that I'm the hardest chopper on the planet. So, something like that. At least.
Hey, I would love to see you get in a ring with Cody Rhodes as well.
I beat him
I love your attitude. You're cocky and evil. I love it.
That's what I do.
Another match I've seen you in I really enjoyed was when you took on Jarek 120, the magician wrestler. That was a pretty fun match to watch.
Yeah, it was good. I had some fun in that one.
So what happened at the end of the match between you and Jarek?
He had a bunch of lackeys come out and try to put the boots to me.
And let me guess, you probably kicked all their asses as well, right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, that's pretty awesome. Besides having great chemistry in a ring with Simbodi, who are some other wrestlers that you enjoy like beating the crap out of in the ring, and you have great chemistry, but they always can end up beating the crap out of you?
Chupacabra is probably the most notable one. Mike Rain's another one. We smashed it. Me and Mike have had classic just battles. Chupacabra, just classic battles, just absolutely insane matches. There's a couple of them up on YouTube, actually.
Oh, cool. I'll definitely have to check that out. As well, in one of your matches, when you were doing your match, you broke your collarbone. How did that happen?
I took a move off the top rope, landed incorrectly, and smashed my collarbone into 4 pieces.
Wow. How long were you out after that?
2 months.
Really? I bet you were probably...
Still broken.
Wow. But the cool thing about it is you just went on and did that match, and then after that you had to do what you had to do as well. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I'm not one to stop wrestling because of an injury.
Yeah, hey, you and Simbodi are some wild characters in the wrestling ring. You guys do some crazy stuff, and you guys like to beat up on a lot of people too. And when I was talking to Simbodi, he was kind of a little upset, about Bray Wyatt, kind of stealing his idea.
The WWE is very big on stealing other people's ideas.
Yeah, yeah, because when I talked to him on the podcast, he was a little flabbergasted about that as well. And then we also talked about, Crazy Steve, who is another great talent, which, Sin highly respects.
Yeah, no, Crazy Steve's a good guy.
Have you ever tangled with him a bunch of times as well?
No, I haven't got the pleasure to smash his face in yet.
Oh, really? Have you ever told him that if you got in the ring with him, you would smash his face?
I probably have. I don't remember that as much as with Effie. Effie got trying to remind on a weekly basis. I don't know what was that.
I'm going to tell you something. That's going to be a good match between you and Effie, man. That's going to be just epic and priceless all together.
One day it'll happen.
Yeah. And then another wrestler you got in the ring with as well. You got in the ring with T.J. Perkins. What was that like to get in the ring with him?
It was good. It was a good opportunity for me to show people how well-rounded I am.
Well, you're well-rounded. I mean, you can wrestle any type of style and wrestle any guy in the ring. I mean, I've seen a bunch of your matches. You can wrestle any style, which is very impressive.
The promoter who, for future stars of wrestling out here, who admittedly not best friends with me, said it was probably one of the most technical matches the company's ever had, and I'm not known for my technical skills.
Wow. Especially since, you're out there in Las Vegas. What's the wrestling scene out there in Las Vegas, and how are the fans with, the different wrestling shows out there?
I love wrestling in Vegas. I don't get to wrestle here very often, but when I do, I try to make it memorable, so to speak. I probably wrestle here, a handful of times a year, usually out of state or out of country, but I love wrestling in Las Vegas. It'll always be my home. It'll always be the place where I started. It'll always be my favorite place to wrestle.
That's pretty good. I also looked up on you as well. You wrestled in my hometown. I grew up as well. You wrestled one time in Bakersfield, California.
Yeah, I wrestle there every so often.
So what was it like to wrestle over in Bakersfield, and how were the fans over there?
It's been a while, but I had fun. Last time I was there, I dumped a dude on his head through a chair, so I liked it.
Oh, I bet you did. So, in your career as well, did you ever have any regrets?
No.
Hey, that's pretty good. Also, I got another question to ask you as well. If you can change anything about pro wrestling and how fans perceive it, what would you change and why?
I wouldn't change anything. If how people perceive it is on them. If you want to watch it, enjoy it, and have fun, good. If you don't, fuck you. I don't care.
Nice. You're also a father as well. So, how's your kids think about having a dad as a pro wrestler, and have they ever seen you get crazy in the ring?
My oldest two have seen me do some crazier stuff. I have 7 kids. A good portion of them are under 6. They have not seen me do anything too crazy. I had to protect them from that until they're a little older. But they like me wrestling.
That's pretty good. So do they like your whole character as well?
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. So when you're not like beating up wrestlers in the ring and getting crazy and doing some obscene stuff, what do you enjoy outside the ring? What does Funny Bone enjoy doing besides wrestling?
I hang out with my kid.
That's pretty good too. So do you and your kids like watch wrestling together as well, besides you wrestling as well?
No, I don't usually watch wrestling when I'm home. I usually watch cartoons or whatever they want to watch.
Oh, really? Since you're into cartoons, what's your favorite cartoon of all time?
That's a good question. Probably favorite of all time. Yeah, I don't know. I have a lot of favorites. I can't just pinpoint to one.
And I'm asking another question, especially of cartoons as well. Don't you miss the Saturday morning cartoons when they were on the 3 major stations? Man, that was the time to be a kid.
I still do that. If I'm ever in town on a Saturday, I wake up Saturday mornings and watch cartoons with my kid.
Hey, it's
not very often that I'm here in town on a Saturday because wrestling. But when I am, I do watch it with my kids.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So when you're on the road a lot traveling, is it hard to be away from your family and kids?
Yeah, it's the only part I don't like about it.
Yeah. So I know your oldest probably understands that you travel a lot. Do your younger kids understand why their dad wrestles all the time?
Yeah, they kind of grew up in me wrestling all the time, so they know what it's all about.
Also, when you got into pro wrestling, when you started training as well, was your family very supportive as well?
At the time when I first started, I only had the 2 kids. My family outside of my immediate family that I made, I don't really deal with them or talk to them.
Okay. Also, growing up as well, you were a huge wrestling fan. Who was your favorite wrestler growing up?
Shawn Michaels and Mick Foley were my favorite.
Oh, those were your 2 favorite, a bunch of death matches and stuff and super kicks.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on All Elite Wrestling that's going on right now?
That's a good product. They're doing a very good job of separating themselves from what WWE does. Most important thing any company can do is promote the difference between them and WWE.
That's pretty good as well. So will we ever see Funny Bone at AEW?
If they want me, I would be interested, yeah.
So where do you see yourself in 2019 and beginning on to 2020?
Wrestling somewhere.
When you can't wrestle anymore, have you ever thought about maybe being a trainer, or would you just hang up the boots when you can't, wrestle anymore?
Aside from wrestling right now, I do seminars as well. One of my favorite things about wrestling is actually training the younger generation and working with them in order for them to get better.
Oh, really? So who are some of your favorite students that you trained that you think is going to have a bright future in pro wrestling?
There's a number of guys. I haven't fully trained trained a wrestler in many, many years. I've just been doing the seminars for the last few. There's a handful out of there, though, that have been to the seminars and worked with me that I know are going to have a bright future. Steven Cesario, who actually trains at Stoner U, which is Hood Slam School, he's going to be a megastar one day. DeShade is one of my personal favorites. If he actually gets his ass in shape, he'll be doing pretty good.
So you drove him in the mat like what Nick Botwinkle used to do when you first started, right?
Not as hands-on as Nick was. We trained with Nick once or twice a week. Unfortunately, I just get to do the seminars and shit like that.
Will I ever see you like wrestling out in the Midwest, like Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois, anytime in the future?
I was just in Milwaukee on Friday.
Wow, I did not know that. I would have drove up to see that, man. I would love to see you wrestle in Ohio. Ohio has a lot of great promotions out there. I mean, you would be getting a huge pop. People would be loving you.
Yeah, it's one of the places I want to work at is Ohio, actually.
There's a lot of great promotions out there. You got like Battle on the Border, Remix Pro, you got Rockstar Pro Wrestling, and you also got Future Great Wrestling in Cincinnati, which is run by Cody Hawk, and he also has a training school there as well.
Yeah, I know Cody.
Really? So do you have any like good stories with you and Cody? Have you and Cody like tangled in the ring?
No, I'm mostly going to see Cody at CAC, but if you go through all the pictures at CAC, typically speaking, I'm behind Cody in most of them.
And what does he think about that? How you're like in the shadows behind Cody Hawk?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't got to ask him yet. I just like seeing the pictures.
Speaking of Cody Hawk, wherever he goes, he's followed by Pretty Little Cycle, Shauna Reed, and the 5 Most Wanted, Sean Casey, David J., and Big John Murray. So what do you think of the 5 Most Wanted?
They look like they all have very hittable faces.
What do you think of Big John Murray? Would you ever tangle with him in the ring?
Yes.
What about Sean Casey?
Sean Casey, I've hit a number of times. It was a lot of fun.
Really, what was some of your favorite matches that you did with Sean Casey?
I don't think I've actually had a match with him. I think there's been a few run-ins, and that's about it. But I do remember hitting him in the face.
Boy, you sure do hit a lot of people in the face. You must love it.
Yeah, pretty much if you're close enough, I'm going to hit you in the face.
I'm afraid if I meet you someday, you'll probably end up hitting me in the face, and I'm not a wrestler.
Yeah, it's a good chance of that.
Or maybe hit me with a chair, right?
I really like the sound of my elbow hitting jaws.
I bet you do. So since you're a demigod as well, have you conjured up any followers that will follow you in a ring and do your bidding?
No, I don't like people around me that much.
Hey, I'm surprised, since you're a demigod in the ring, I'm surprised no one hasn't used your character for a Dungeons & Dragons role-playing game.
I mean, they might have. I don't know.
I love it. Man, I'm having a good time talking to you. You're fun to talk to, man. This is great, talking about your story and how you love punching a lot of people in the face.
Yeah, that's what I do.
So where can everybody find you on social media so they know what you're going to be doing next?
Facebook, I'm under I Am Funnybone. First name I Am, last name Funnybone. Twitter is Demi_God of Death. And on Instagram it's at your Demi God of Death.
That's pretty awesome. Another question I want to ask you before we get off as well. What was it like to tangle with Super Beast?
I like hitting Super Beast. He's a lot of fun to beat up. I'm actually tagging with him the next time I see him, though.
Really? How'd you guys end up tagging if you guys like to beat up each other?
That's just how it is sometimes. We wrestled in a faction in Hood Slam for about a year. Disenchanted.
Oh, that's pretty...
We're the type of guys that like to hit each
each other and work with each other if we're not hitting each other.
Well, that's a kind of a weird relationship. So since you guys are tagging again, do you think you guys can coexist together and punch people's faces in the ring?
Oh, yeah, that's easy.
I love it, man. That's pretty good. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show, taking your time to come on.
Hey, no problem at all, bud.
And everybody else, thank you for listening to Wrestle Popcast. You can listen to Wrestle Popcast at Hitting the Marks Podcast Network, podcastcity.net at Podcast City Network. You can listen to me on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and on Twitter, WPopcast1, and at Facebook at Wrestle Popcast. Everybody have a great evening.